Big prisons are extending their reach beyond jail cells to make more money off incarcerated people.
It seems really kind of suspicious that, the records that come out are really geared to push people towards that prison industry.
Including you, Jay-Z.
Yes. Yes.
You who say you rose from the gutter, but you have traded and bartered the souls of young men.
Literally the same people who own the labels own private prisons.
If you've been paying attention to the industry over the years, you've probably heard about how Ice Cube has made it his side hustle to expose the shortcomings of the industry. But it seems even that isn't enough for him, as the rapper has now taken things to new heights. Now, he's not just stopping at calling the powers that be out on the internet. Oh no. Now, Ice is doing full-blown interviews about these people moving the chess pieces in the industry. And it seems Jay-Z's name may have come up in the process. This would ordinarily not raise any flags, as people call out the biggest industry players all the time. But with this one, Ice actually laid a trail for anyone interested in his truth. And what he talked about, don't even get me started on these big names who have made an entire niche of making money off of sending rappers to jail. But Ice Cube, being in the industry for as long as he has seen a lot of unusual things play out in the lives of these rappers. So much so that he has now drawn parallels and is hell-bent on exposing top players. Personally, I've never seen anyone step up against the Carters with facts, but times are different now. So if you don't want to miss Ice Cube's revelation about the unnamed veteran rapper, then stick around.
You meaning record company guys sit around and tell the artists, this is hot, say that, do this. We're gonna have this guy write the lyrics.
One factor that makes people more inclined to believe older people in life generally is the fact that they're equipped with experience. And this was the same case with Ice Cube. The rapper cum actor has been dishing about the puppeteer nature of the industry and how labels, along with their executives, are really the ones pulling the strings on rappers getting sentenced. The audacity, right? Well, the Friday rapper actually said a whole lot more than that. In a sit-down with Bill Maher on the Comedian's podcast, Ice Cube doubled down on revealing just how deep certain executives in the music world have their fingers in controlling society at large. Starting the conversation on his life and career as a whole, the episode called Club Random became a roller coaster after Ice Cube touched on the alleged scandalous connection between the prison industry and the music business. And guess who's at the center of both? Anyway, according to the seemingly enlightened actor, the game being played by these top players in the industry is simply meant to keep the general public distracted and by extension divided.
It's just done to really keep us bickering and, chasing these words.
It's weird how the name's always changing every 20 or 30 years. Somebody wants to put a new label on the same thing, Ice Cube said. He went on to suggest that petty debates like this are forced on society to divide people and prevent them from questioning the problems they all should unite to address. It's just done to really keep us bickering and chasing these words, so they're not really getting to the root of the issues, which are most of the time very common, if we really go down to the root of it, Ice Cube said. From this point, it was already pretty clear that the Friday actor was onto something, as he then went on to draw up the alleged connections he believes to exist in the industry, and it started after Maher asked Ice to identify some of these people who are dividing society by design. But instead of spelling it out what he was talking about for the podcast host, Ice Cube did him and the rest of the world one better by asking one question. Who benefits and profits off our bickering and division? Ice Cube asked rhetorically.
Who benefits and profits off our bickering and our division? It's like follow the money.
Follow the money. I don't know their names, Bill, but if you follow the money, you go high enough, you start to see, he added. He then used the record industry as a broad example of how people at the top can manipulate what's going on with the people who are bickering and fighting.
I don't know their names, Bill, but if you follow the money, you go high enough, you start to see.
Ice Cube alleged that the same people who own the record labels own the prisons, noting that it seems really kind of suspicious, if you want to say that word, that the records that come out are really geared to push people towards that prison industry. But just like many people, Maher had his doubts about Cube's revelation, stating that rappers hadn't been forced to write those lyrics that promoted and subsequently landed rappers in jail. Well, this was the point Ice Cube decided to bring out the big guns. It's not about making somebody write the lyrics, it's about being there as guardrails to make sure certain songs make it through and certain songs don't, Ice Cube said. He later claimed some records are made by committee, where a record company micromanages the lyrics and ideas used in an album to the point a record company is pushing a narrative. Ice Cube suggested this is an illustrative example of social engineering, in this case, ensuring prisons stay full.
It's not about making somebody write the lyrics. It's about being there as guardrails to make sure certain songs make it through and certain songs don't.
Essentially, what ICE meant is that the same people who run the record companies seem to have stock or financial interests in the private prison industry. Thus, their interest in doing everything they can to control how much people get jail terms. Remember when I asked you to guess whose name could fit into a record label conversation and might also happen to be invested in the prison system? Well, it's none other than the head of the Carter household, Jay-Z himself.
So, you know, it seems really kind of...
For starters, Jay-Z, being the 1% of the 1% that is at the top of the music industry, happens to run his own record labels that apparently have a trail of artists ending up in jail. Seems like a pretty huge coincidence, doesn't it? See, while most of the rappers that have been signed to Jay-Z's record label over the years have had their own share of controversies involving the law, there has been a pattern of Hav refusing to lend a helping hand, even though he literally has the required connections. One of the most prominent examples of this case is rapper Casanova's run-in with the law. Casanova, who was signed to Roc Nation in 2016, was charged with attempted murder in November 2021 and has been behind bars since. However, he says Jay-Z has not lent a helping hand even after he'd spent months back and forth on the case. In fact, after a month behind bars, the rapper actually had a statement revealing that he was in a tight spot. According to a statement released via Instagram on his behalf, which read, "I've been incarcerated for almost 1 year now, exhausted all remedies, and spent a significant amount of money on legal fees to prove my innocence. The charges against me are false. They don't represent or reflect the person that I am." The NY rapper added in his statement, "I'm calling on all the great people with meaningful and powerful voices to help me with this matter. If there's anything you can do to help, whether if it's contacting my legal attorney to see that I played no role in this case or having a private investigator look into actual role and not the alleged accusations against me." Considering that Jay-Z has eaten at the table of the American president at different points in the past, don't you think it's a little odd that his artist has to release a public statement asking for legal help? And if that's not convincing enough, there's also the fact that Tory Lanez, who was recently caught up in a legal free-for-all with Megan Thee Stallion, had his own share of Jay-Z's power. According to Lanez himself, he got a call from Jay's record label, or should I say threat. Hear for yourself.
I get a call from Roc Nation that says, "Yo, we heard you're gonna make a statement about what happened, and it'd be in your best interest if you don't make that statement."
For context, Megan is actually an artiste under Jay-Z's Roc Nation, who also happens to be making big bank for them. So the label allegedly calling up Tory to keep his mouth shut is pretty much another form of proof that Jay has his hands deeply invested in controlling the narrative about artists. But it wasn't just Tory that spoke about Jay-Z's alleged manipulation. Even the Canadian rapper's father name-dropped Hove. And considering that Lanez actually lost that case, even though there seemed to be a lot of discrepancies, including conflicting stories, it just further solidifies these claims against Jay. But it didn't end with just Tory and Casanova. Oh no, there's one other name, which is the legendary R. Kelly, the singer who is currently in jail for a litany of other sex-related charges. Seems to be more worried about other things than the crimes he's committed. Ronnie Bowe, Kelly's former cellmate, said in a recent interview that the R&B singer thinks that Jay-Z wanted him dead. Jay-Z and Kelly worked on 2 albums together in the early 2000s and went on tour together as well. Apparently, things did not end well on the tour between the 2 artists. He felt like Jay-Z was kind of insecure because at that time, R. Kelly was technically bigger than him, Bowe said. He felt like during one of the shows when they was in Madison Square Garden in 2004, prior to that event, He said days before the event that he was getting death threats that he felt was coming from Jay-Z. "I don't know if this is going to sound outrageous," Bo said. He felt like Jay-Z was trying to get him killed for whatever reason. He couldn't have said it better, right? But it still doesn't end there. Even besides all of these, there is also the fact that Jay literally created an app to monitor former convicts when they get released. While the rapper claims this is just him lending a hand to make society a better place, history and Ice Cube seem to have painted a completely different picture. Well, it seems a lot of people might be starting to figure out who Jay-Z really is, and they haven't been quiet about it. One user wrote, "Jay-Z is a black capitalist who is invested in the prison industrial complex. His CEO of Rock Nation was a DEA informant. He goes against everything the Black Panther Party stood for." Is this where people finally put their foot down against this puppeteer? We just may find out soon enough. That's it for this video. Goodbye.